What is going on, New York Giants fans? Back at it with another New York Football Giants video. Happy Sunday. Hope everyone's enjoying the weekend. Tom Scavetta here with Hank and Dictor. Hank, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself, Tom?
I'm doing excellent. I'm having a really fun time keeping track of rookie minicamp, going over some of these players that the Giants have brought in, not just their drafted rookies, but these undrafted free agents, a couple of veterans we brought in. But this is going to be a lot of fun. Before we go any further, just want to let you all know, make sure to give us a follow on Instagram and Twitter at Big Blue Avenue. We're going to be putting out a lot of content. And then, of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel as well at Big Blue Avenue. Just got an interview confirmed for later this week with Brian McGardle. He is a huge UCF football fan, so I'm going to interview him about Aaron Robinson, our third-round draft pick. So I'm really looking forward to that. But without further ado, let's get into our topics for today. So, Hank, it was a 3-day rookie minicamp that started on Friday, 2 days of workouts and tryouts for some. And before we analyze some of these young prospects that the Giants have, just want to reveal the numbers for these rookies. First of all, my favorite draft pick, Azeez Ojulari, gets number 51, a number that was worn by Kyler Fackrell last year. Running back Gary Brightwell gets number 37. Rodarius Williams, number 25. And then Kadarius Toney, our man Kadarius Toney, will be wearing number 89. Aaron Robinson will get number 33. So, and then I believe Ellerson Smith will get number 58. And then the undrafted rookie free agents, Brett Heggie will get his college number 61, Jake Burton number 70. And then Raymond Johnson III out of Georgia Southern gets Justin Tuck's big number 91. So, Hank, what do you think of those numbers? None of them really remind me of anybody too much. I mean, you could argue Kadarius Toney, Kevin Boss wore 89. Amani Toomer started his career as number 89. Those are really only two 89s that I could think of.
I was going to say Toomer, his rookie year. How about my guy Mark Bavaro?
I just thought Bavaro too. Yep.
How about him? You can't just not give Mark Bavaro love. But for number 58, I'm sorry, but that number should be retired for
Carl Banks.
This man, yep.
That's true. Yep. Same position, too. Same position in that 3-4 scheme run by Bill Belichick, now being run by Patrick Graham. Similar ties there.
That guy should be in the Hall of Fame, by the way, in my honest opinion.
Hank, the Giants had a full attendance, brought in 8 players who were eligible that are not rookies. One of them is linebacker Kale Garrett, who has a good chance to make this roster. Now, the Giants and Vikings, they've done a lot of crazy things where they trade off linebackers. Devontae Downs is a former Minnesota Viking. So is Afadio Denibo. We gave them Ryan Connolly. So now Kale Garrett was a undrafted rookie free agent in 2019. After 2019, the 2020 season, he was picked up by the Minnesota Vikings. He was cut during cutdowns last year, and then the Vikings claimed him. He was hanging out on their practice squad for a little bit and then eventually got released. The Giants signed him to a futures deal at the beginning of this offseason. So I really like Kale Garrett a lot. This is a player who more than likely would have been drafted if he didn't get injured in his final year out of Missouri. And, Hank, there's not many holes on this defense. There's not many roster spots where you're saying, wow, I'm not so sure who will make the roster there, except for the inside linebacker position, in my opinion, because you have Blake Martinez, Tay Crowder, and Reggie Ragland as 3 of the 4 in a 3-4 scheme. You're going to carry at least 4 with the linebackers that we have, probably no more than that. Kale Garrett can be that 4th guy because Devontae Downs did not impress last year. He was my least favorite player on the roster. I was annoyed that we brought him back. Hopefully he's just a camp body and he's shipped out. And then we have TJ Brunson, who was a 7th-round pick in last year's draft. So Kale Garrett, Hank, I'm going to go over his stats, and I kind of want your thoughts on his combine stats. He had the slowest 40-yard dash time among all linebackers, interior linebackers, in last year's draft. But his shuttle was the 7th fastest in the entire combine. So these combine stats are a little confusing. And then his 3-cone was the 11th fastest in the entire combine, 2nd among linebackers. So that's a tale of 2 different tapes. And quite frankly, it's a little confusing.
Yeah, I think he's a very interesting case. I think seems to me he could very well have the potential to be a steal, and I think he maybe can make an impact on this linebacker unit. Hopefully we get to see more of him out of the preseason, but he's definitely somebody I'm going to keep an eye on come those games. And, speaking to piggyback off of what you were saying earlier, I think he might end up taking a spot come week 1 of the season. And I have a feeling Downs is going to be the odd man out. I know you and I repeatedly trashed on him multiple times last year, like during our weekly recaps. And I don't know. I'm not impressed with him. I think he's a goner eventually.
I don't like him either. I mean,
No,
I'm not happy that we brought him back, but he's back for now. Now, Kale Garrett, let's go over his stats over his past 2 years at college. Actually, past 3 years. As a sophomore, this guy had 99 tackles. Now, keep in mind, he's playing next to second-round draft pick Nick Bolton, who went to the Kansas City Chiefs this year in the second round. So he's putting up these numbers next to Nick Bolton. 99 tackles, 3 sacks, 2 picks, 10 tackles for loss as a sophomore. That's very impressive. As a junior, he had 106 tackles. And then last year as a senior, obviously he got hurt. 2019 as a senior, he got hurt. So these senior stats are across 5 games. 39 tackles. So he's averaging over 8 tackles a game. 4 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 3 picks, 2 of them returned for touchdowns, and a fumble recovery returned for a touchdown. That's 3 defensive touchdowns for Kale Garrett in 5 games.
Yeah, those are pretty decent numbers. I think junior year especially is something that you could probably build on. Again, senior year makes this a little bit of a question mark. And again, some could argue that he could be looked at as a project based on that. But you know what? We'll see. I think sometimes you always have those underdogs that will somehow come out of training camp making the roster, and maybe they get to see the field come week 1 of the season. So I think he's definitely someone intriguing, and I'm going to definitely look more into him like over the course of the preseason.
You know me, I like my under the radar guys, so I had to throw one in there.
Yes, of course. I like that. I like that, Tom. It's great.
But what was interesting about this rookie minicamp, Hank, was NFL teams can normally invite dozens of prospective players to try out at these rookie minicamps, but they were limited to just 5 this year due to the pandemic. And one was a local guy, Bergen Catholic High School star, Frankie Feaster out of Montvale, New Jersey, not too far, right up the road here. And he had a chance to impress this weekend. He started playing football and lacrosse at Division III Muhlenberg College. That's where he spent his college career. He played defensive end, linebacker, safety, and tight end. He tried out as a fullback, so the versatility right there is extremely key. This guy had 17 and a half sacks in a season. I understand this is on the Division III level, but you want to see if this talent can potentially translate into the NFL. Dave Gettleman obviously saw film out of him that he liked. He's a local kid, so why not bring him in, give him a shot? He didn't play in 2020, had his season canceled. Personally, I like this kid a lot. He's a fan favorite, and I hope he gets the invite to training camp.
Oh, yeah. Local kids making the camp are always a great feel-good story. And 17 and a half sacks. Wow. Like, I don't care what the competition is. 17 and a half sacks is still very impressive to me, don't you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it is very impressive, especially I like his speed. He has a lot of speed to him. He finds the gaps. I was watching some film before we went live today with this video. I think he's going to be potentially a training camp body on that 90-man roster, we hope. But I'm rooting for him. I know you're rooting for him as well, that local kid storyline that, we had a similar one a couple years ago with Jake Carlock. But
yeah, I knew you were going with that.
We remember that infamous touchdown. Yeah, I went to school with Carlock, so yeah, it was a crazy story. But another young kid invited, CFL guy Nathan Rourke, played his college football at Ohio, very good there. So maybe if he makes the training camp roster, it can be some competition with Clayton Thorson. And then notable vets to be invited were Ito Smith, Kelvin Benjamin, and Corey Clement, which we both signed. We'll get to them in just a little bit. And one last thing I want to say before to Kadarius Toney. Rookie minicamp should not go unnoticed. Adam Thielen was an undrafted player, got his first look in the NFL in rookie minicamp. He was an invite, and now he's one of the best receivers in the NFL. So this definitely should not be taken lightly. You always have to keep your eyes open because you never know what these players could do. So, Hank, I know we're excited to talk about our first round pick. Kadarius Toney was running some drills barefoot on Friday, said his cleats were the wrong size. He didn't make it to the end of the practice either of the first 2 days. Joe Judge said it was not injury related, but my thoughts on Toney, I really like him. Having playmakers like this help revamp the offense, and it'll help Daniel Jones. Look, last year's offense was centered around Barkley, and he went down. Jason Garrett didn't have Saquon Barkley, so now the offense was centered around Daniel Jones and these receivers. Put a lot of pressure on these receivers, which those receivers couldn't handle. So the fact that we brought in Kenny Golladay, Kyle Rudolph, John Ross, and now Kadarius Toney is outstanding. And personally, I like what Toney did this weekend, even in the interviews too. You could just say he was grateful to just have a jersey number. He's a high character guy, which you really like as a Giants fan.
Oh yeah, and the Giants always like drafting guys of like high character too, especially when you consider the way their eras are. But yeah, no, I liked what I saw. I don't think he dropped too many passes thrown at him during like the rookie camp. No, well, few at all actually. And that if he's accurate with the catching, which I think can definitely happen, like based on this performance, I'm definitely liking this pick more. I think, Tom, you may recall, I liked it, but I wasn't like ecstatic over the moon about it on draft day. But like, I definitely think he can improve this offense, and that speed, man, I think it can really make a big difference on this roster. And I'll tell you what, already signing Kenny Golladay, I think that draft can look even more dangerous given what they just added right now.
Not to mention, too, a lot of the Giants receivers on this roster are injury prone. That includes Kenny Golladay, Sterling Shepard, and John Ross. So I'm not even going to get to the tight end position, but those are just the wide receivers that are injury prone. And Kadarius Toney is an excellent slot receiver. I think he fills that void. I'm really excited for him. I know you are as well. The well-dressed Kadarius. I can't say that just yet. I can't say that now. That number 89 is giving me flashbacks.
Amani Toomer, one of my favorite Bourbon-isms. I knew where you were going with that.
Yeah. Neither of us really remember Amani Toomer as a rookie. Both of us were way too young, toddlers. But
I was in diapers.
Yeah. So, look, we got some good rookies in this class. Another one I want to highlight is Ellerson Smith, an opt-out of 2020. Obviously, the Giants had a few players they drafted that did not play in 2020. Ellerson Smith was that one. Actually, now that I think of it, he might have been the only one, trying to remember. But in 2019, Ellerson Smith had 5 forced fumbles, 2 blocked kicks, 64 total tackles, in addition to 14 sacks, 14 quarterback hurries, and 21.5 tackles for loss. Again, FCS schedule at Northern Iowa. So not the best competition there, but I think Smith has a great first move off the line of scrimmage. I think he's going to compete with Lorenzo Carter and O'Shane Ximines. I think he's going to be an immediate rotational piece. Actually, I think O'Shane Ximines could, not saying he will, could potentially be a surprise cut at cutdown, because we saw last year guys who get hurt under a new regime are not guaranteed roster spots. We saw that with Ryan Connolly, 2019 draft pick. O'Shane Ximines, 2019 draft pick, the exact same thing. He was around before Joe Judge started. This isn't necessarily a Joe Judge player. This is just a Dave Gettleman player that Joe Judge inherited when he came here as head coach. So same thing for Patrick Graham, new defensive coordinator. So I think Smith, I just think he's going to compete instantly. He's huge. He had the highest vertical of any defensive end in this draft class. He's tall. He's with shoes on, he's 6'7". He's 6'6" without. So I really like him, and he could bulk up a little bit with his upper body. He's set. Him and Ojulari will be absolutely great, and you still have Lorenzo Carter. So I really like Ellerson Smith a lot. He's a diamond in the rough for me personally.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I've been hearing some mixed reviews about him too, but looking at a bit of film of him, I think he's someone who can definitely compete, and I like that. It's another draft pick I really like. I mean, he's not my favorite pick. We'll get to him in a bit, but I definitely can, with that size and that athleticism, I think he'll definitely help.
Yeah, I think he'll be good. Again, FCS schedule, a little concerning. Didn't play last year. Next guy is Aaron Robinson, third-round pick. This Aaron Robinson pick screams to me that the Giants are going more into cover one routes, press man coverage in Patrick Graham's defense. I think this type of defense will help disguise more blitzes. Robinson's a very physical corner who can play both inside and outside. As I mentioned in one of our previous videos, this man was a second-round talent. A lot of people had him going in a second round. His toughness and his tackling are two great traits of his. He turns his hips very well. He adjusts his body. Again, with shifting to that press man coverage type of defense, this tells me that Isaac Yiadom could be on the roster bubble because he's not good at press man. Aaron Robinson will probably start in the slot at some point next year, despite how good Darnay Holmes was. And I think Holmes probably will start the year as that slot corner. He's not the best man coverage corner. He's more of a press man corner. In fact, his lone interception last year was in zone coverage, Darnay Holmes. Giants ran a lot of zone coverage last year. They're trying to shift to that press man. Aaron Robinson's your guy for press man, not so much Darnay Holmes. Not saying Holmes can't, revitalize his game a little bit or alter, but Robinson, Holmes, that position matchup in training camp and preseason is going to be really fun to watch. Robinson only had 2 missed tackles last year, and the guy has a good personality. You watch his interviews, he's a natural born leader, and that's exactly what the Giants are looking for.
Yeah, and I also really like this pick because it beefed up their secondary. Like, we already have Bradbury, as you mentioned, Darnay Holmes. I think he can definitely revitalize his game, and obviously we mentioned a few episodes ago there was the signing of Adoree Jackson. I think the beefing up of that secondary is going to be very critical, and I can definitely see Patrick Graham making some really good schemes. And it was an excellent pick too. I like what I saw out of him out of film. He's very physical. Going to be one of those key rookies to watch come the season for sure.
And from what I read, Azeez Ojulari had a really good weekend as well, our second-round pick out of Georgia. I know you want to touch upon him because I'm assuming he's your favorite draft pick out of all these picks because he's mine too.
Him and Aaron Robinson were tied with my favorite picks. Robinson I like because, like you said, I think it was a steal. I thought he was probably going to be taken in the second round, and I'm surprised that he was able to fall towards the Giants. And didn't we have another guy from UCF that we talked to that appeared with Andy? He said he really liked him too. So I think that really made me more confident in him. But with that being said, Azeez Ojulari was a guy that I was really worried was going to be taken in the first round. This was actually one of the guys that I kind of wanted the Giants to take when they ended up taking Tony at the spot that they had him. But the fact that the Giants traded down and they got Ojulari when they did, that's a dub. That's a huge dub.
And he fell there because of the injury concerns that he had in high school. Not once did he have an injury in college that was substantial enough to keep him out of the lineup. So, I think that whole thing is bogus. Look, it can become a concern if there are arthritis issues. I understand that. That's probably why teams were afraid to draft him. But he played 3-4 years at Georgia without having an issue. You just hope it doesn't become an issue as he gets old. But look, I love this pick. Great bull rusher. And again, another guy who had a very impressive weekend. And there's one undrafted rookie free agent I'm going to touch upon, and it is Brett Heggie, the center out of the University of Florida, who I think could be a potential steal for the Giants. Again, very similar profile to Nick Gates, our current starting center. Nick Gates was an undrafted rookie free agent out of Nebraska. He was hurt his rookie year. He was put on season-ending IR. Nick Gates, 2019, started some games at right tackle for us, then shifted inside to center in 2020, beat out Spencer Pulley, who's now off the roster, and Nick Gates has been an excellent player for the Giants. Brett Heggie, similar thing, good size, tangible traits, has to work on his fundamentals a little bit. Heggie did deal with some hand injuries, but again, why I think Heggie could potentially sneak onto this roster, and at the very least the practice squad, because this is a guy we're going to keep around. Whether it's on the 53-man or on the practice squad, he could potentially compete with guys like Jonathan Harrison and Zach Bolton for roster spots on that 53-man. Brett Heggie did deal with some hand injuries, which potentially could have slid him to the UDFA territory. His versatility is what I want to touch upon. He can play center. or either guard spot, which is what you love to hear. He started all 12 games at center last year for Kyle Trask. He's a teammate of Kadarius Toney, not to mention, so there's chemistry and links there. 15 starts at left guard as a junior. 15 starts at left guard. 12 starts at center last year. 6'4", 310, Hank. That is a hog molly. And I love Brett Heggie. He can handle the downhill blocks. He's a good driver. Majority of his weaknesses are fundamental based, which I think Rob Sale, our new offensive line coach, could work on this with him. I love Brett Heggie. I don't know what you think of this signing by the Giants, but I think it's a pretty darn good one.
Oh, that I think that's another great one. I love the versatility there, and I was waiting for you to use Dave Gettleman's favorite word. He is a hog molly, and I versatility on the offensive line is definitely a great characteristic to have. Like you said, he does have a bit of things to work on, but I see a lot of upside with him too.
Absolutely. I think he will definitely be a part of this team's future. And now the big news. So with rookie minicamp over, the Giants made 2 signings last night, and they are both veterans, Kelvin Benjamin and Corey Clement. Kelvin Benjamin, former draft pick of Dave Gettleman, former first-round draft pick back in the 2014 NFL draft. In fact, he's a former Buffalo Bill as well. Benjamin has not played in the NFL since 2018. He participated in this rookie minicamp as a veteran tryout player, as so did Clement. Kelvin Benjamin, Hank, I mean, we've seen him a few times against the Giants, had a really good first couple of years in the NFL where he had 16 combined touchdowns. Actually, as a rookie, had over 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 145 targets with Cam Newton. But then he started to run into some weight problems. The guy is I think he's currently 6'5", around 245. He was once 275 pounds. That is not a wide receiver weight. So that being said, he tried out as a tight end, not a wide receiver. That's what we didn't know, because I'm looking at our wide receiver depth chart. It's very, very crowded. Now, so is our tight end depth chart, but you never know. I feel a lot better with him competing with guys like Levine Toilolo and Caden Smith than guys like Dante Pettis, John Ross, David Sills, Austin Mack. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I really think despite the crowded wide receiver and tight end rooms, the Giants need a guy like Kelvin Benjamin. People are going to laugh at this signing saying he hasn't played in the NFL in the last 3 years. Well, I don't have very high expectations for this guy. I think he's a cam body that could potentially make the 53-man, or if he goes unclaimed, can sit on the practice squad, because veterans like him can be on the practice squad now. And what did the Giants lack last year, Hank, in the red zone? What did they lack?
They lacked that big tight end threat with like reliable arms.
Big body targets.
Big body tight end. Big body target. Well, they also lacked a reliable handed tight end. Cough, cough, right. Evan.
And this is a steal, because a lot, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of our receivers and tight ends as well are injury-prone players. Before last year, Evan Ingram was a guy who consistently got hurt. Kyle Rudolph, we had to wait. We almost couldn't sign him because he's dealing with a foot injury. And also, Caden Smith and Levine Toilolo are not exactly NFL starters. So Kelvin Benjamin, if somebody gets hurt, he could potentially make this roster. And now, with that being said, fun fact, the Giants now have 3 former first-round wide receivers on their roster.
Let's see, Kelvin Benjamin is one of them. Sterling Shepard.
No, he was second round.
No. I thought he was for. No, you're right. Let me think of the other one. Need a hint.
Well, one of them we just talked about earlier.
We said Kelvin Benjamin. Kadarius Toney.
Yep. And who's the third?
Galladay?
Nope. He was a third-round pick. John Ross is the answer.
Wow. Ross.
9th overall, too. Yeah.
Forgot about that one. Wow.
Yeah. But what are your general thoughts on Kelvin Benjamin? Do you think he has a shot to make this roster? And what exactly do you expect him to bring to the table?
Well, first of all, I think he can definitely bring some veteran leadership to the table. He hasn't really been in the game for a while, but we know he's been around the block for a long enough time to where I think he could probably help some of the young guys on the team, and got a lot of those at the wide receiver spot as it is. So
Yeah.
there's that. And I also think he's probably going to end up being used because you never know with the Giants' luck with injuries. Somebody's probably going to get hurt, and I think that's a very good emergency signing. And last but not least, I think the big body and a potentially reliable end zone target, that's the most important thing for me. So the more I think about it, I was a little confused myself when he was signed because I'm thinking, this guy, when's the last time I heard about this guy? But now he's on the roster. Now he could potentially contribute. And I also wouldn't rule out the fact that possibly one of the tight ends on the crowded tight end spot could end up getting cut too. Let's not forget about that. So yeah. I think Kelvin Benjamin, the more I think about it, he's going to be more valuable than people realize.
And the ties to Dave Gettleman. So
yep,
we will see what happens with that. And then the second player is a former arch nemesis, Corey Clement, former Philadelphia Eagle, actually local out of Glassboro, New Jersey, in southern New Jersey. And he was a Super Bowl hero for the Eagles, had a team high 100 receiving yards in that game against the New England Patriots, and was among 30 NFL veterans that were trying out this weekend. Clement, coming off his rookie contract, was not retained by the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Clement has a better chance to make this team than Kelvin Benjamin because, you worry about Saquon Barkley, whether he's going to be ready coming back from the torn ACL. No, I'm not doubting the guy, but I don't like the depth behind him in Devontae Booker or Gary Brightwell. I think Booker is a solid backup running back in this league. I just don't like his contract. Gary Brightwell, that was the one draft pick I wasn't the biggest fan of. I think he's more suited for a special teams role. Potentially could only even make the practice squad now with this Corey Clement signing, as where I think he will be an excellent replacement for a guy like Dion Lewis, who we lost in free agency, because we just mentioned he had 100 receiving yards in a game. Corey Clement can be a good pass catching back for this offense. As a rookie, he had 4 touchdown rushes, 2 touchdown receptions. So 6 touchdowns as a rookie. Hasn't been used much over the last 2 years. He's 5'10", around 220 pounds. I think Barkley should be back in time, but you never know. You're not 100% sure. I think Clement is competing for the number 3 running back position behind Barkley and Booker. And by these 2 signings, what are Joe Judge and Dave Gettleman telling us? You can't have too much talent. Both prospects showed good, and because both of these prospects had good tryouts, the Giants waived running back Jordan Chun and tight end Nate Whiting to make room for them. So any thoughts you have on Corey Clement?
I think that's another under-the-radar signing that will probably help them down the line towards the season. And like you said, I don't think you can really press your luck with Saquon Barkley. You really can't press your luck on anybody who's recovering from a torn ACL. So for that reason alone, and given the fact that Corey Clement's been around the block, I'm definitely on board with that signing.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I like it more than Kelvin Benjamin. I think both are good additions. Look, this is an upgrade over the 2 previous players that we just got, so the team just got better. I'm not saying either of these guys are going to be a long-term part of this team's future. Kelvin Benjamin definitely is not in the long-term plans, I'll tell you that much. But Corey Clement could be a guy that could solidify that running back 3 role if you don't like what you get out of Gary Brightwell in training camp or if there's an injury. So with that being said, Hank, just some of the key takeaways. Joe Judge obviously mentioned in his pressers that he kind of viewed this as more of an orientation weekend, not a competition weekend. And actually, he admitted that this was the first time he had seen some of these players in action. And then we also found out that, we kind of both knew this already, but Nate Ebner should be back with the team in 2021. He was a captain last year. He's playing rugby. He's playing in the Rugby Olympics or something. So expect him to be back in 2021 to kind of, put an exclamation point on that special teams unit. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think Ebner it'll be interesting to see what Ebner does. I hope he can have another good year. I think definitely he brings a good amount of leadership to the table. So I think not a bad idea to keep him around.
Yeah, I agree. And Hank, wanted to thank you so much for joining me today, folks. Make sure to comment, subscribe to the channel, like this video. We just talked about rookie minicamp. We're going to have some other cool videos out this week. Going to have an interview with a good friend of mine regarding Giants defensive back Aaron Robinson. That should be a lot of fun. But until then, again, thank you all very much for watching and supporting this channel. Really do appreciate it. Hank, thank you so much for joining me today.
Tom, as always, it's a pleasure. Excited for the season. Can't wait.
Getting close. Less than 4 months away. Thanks, everybody.